Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to this recording. My name is Abigail Dutcher, and I am the Assistant Professor in the Division of Teacher Education at the University of St. Francis. I have my email here. I do want you to reach out to me with any thoughts, questions, or comments. My email is adutcher, D as in dog, at sf.edu. Thank you so much for being part of this conference. I'm very excited to be presenting at the Global Impact Virtual Conference hosted by ISTE community leaders. Before I get started in the presentation, I do have my EDS in Educational Technology and Learning Engineering. Before I was an assistant professor, I was a grade 6 to 8 instructional coach at an urban middle school. During that time, I helped educators implement curriculum and lesson plans along with other innovations into their classrooms. Some of those innovations actually had to do with technology. Before that time, I was a K-12 educator. I did that for about 10 years in various grade levels. My presentation tonight is on promoting technology acceptance of AI innovations through professional development and policy alignment. Our agenda tonight is I'm going to talk about professional development with ChatGPT. I'm also going to talk about different AI policies. Just to get started, I did want to define some key terms that you will hear in this presentation. One is artificial intelligence. In this presentation, I'm going to be talking specifically about ChatGPT. It is a generative AI form. Later in the presentation, I will pull up the navigation system, but for our means, just know that it's a tool where you can type different responses into it and it'll give you an input of answers. I will also be talking about the Technology Acceptance Model, TAM. This model is a model that has been used for a long time to predict teacher dispositions and where they're at in integrating technology into the classroom. I'm also going to use the term acceptable use. Acceptable use just means what is the way that AI is acceptably being able to be used and ethically in a certain situation. So to start off, technology acceptance model. You will see this is the diagram illustrating the TAM model. So here you'll see external variables. So that will be your technology device or your technology program or innovation. From there, you will see that if a person believes that that piece of technology is useful, and if they believe that it is easy to use, there's a perceived ease of use, they will have a better attitude towards using that piece of technology, which will then lead to a behavior and intention to use that actual piece of technology, which all of that combined, they'll actually use it. That's essentially what the model is trying to say. So with that being said, I have a history of technology. While this timeline is definitely missing a lot of technology innovations, I did want to just talk about it. Started off with the first tools and even fire. And as you can see, it goes through irrigation, sailing, iron, printing, steam engine, telephone, radio, airplane, computer, internet, and it ends in, oops, artificial intelligence. Now, going back to the TAM model, any of those innovations that I had previously mentioned, at some point, they had fit into this TAM model. There was a point where the device was created, the external variable. Then people decided that it was useful and they thought it was easy to use. So they had a better attitude towards using it. They started using it, and now it's just integrated into society. All of the different technology tools from our past have gone through this process. The thing about the TAM model is any technology tools that have yet to be invented can also be used using this model. So right now we're talking about AI and we're talking about where we're at it within this model. However, in the future, we could be talking about a different technology tool. And that different technology tool can also fit into this model. So there's a few different pieces of the TAM model in AI. So for our purposes, I created a survey item, a survey tool, to figure out where we are at in integrating AI into our personal use, professional use, and instructional uses. So here are some sample survey items that I have asked a variety of different people. I've asked them if they have used artificial intelligence such as Alexa, chatbot, ChatGPT, etc. in their personal lives. Professionally, I'm asking the same thing. Have you used it professionally? And also, how have you used it as an instructional strategy or tool with students? So, with that being said, we're going to start talking about professional development. And the professional development module that I created really went along those three areas: personal use, professional use, and instructional use. The modules that I created are all asynchronous modules, and I created them in a 4 module sequence with a summative assessment at the end of each module. Each module would take a user 15 to 20 minutes. Module 1 is about introduction and navigation. Module 2 is about finding articles. These modules were created for a reading classroom. However, they could be adjusted for any other kind of classroom. Module 3 is on summarizing and questioning, and module 4 is on application. So the modules had these different learning objectives. The first, the user needs to be able to navigate the interface and basic features of ChatGPT. Also, they need to be able to use focus prompts to locate articles for reading instruction with ChatGPT. They also need to describe how to integrate ChatGPT into lesson planning for reading instruction. These are the models that I had actually used. How my study worked was I had asked users these sample survey questions before they were given the modules, and I had gathered the data from that. They were then exposed to this professional development, which I'm gonna show you now. And then at the end of the professional development, they were asked those same survey questions. So here you see the 4 modules that I was talking about. The objectives. In my particular research, I used pre-service educators. So here it talks about ChatGPT, how it can be used as an aid to reading instruction, and it's teaching the student how to actually navigate ChatGPT. So there's the link to it. It's asking students to create the credentials, and it's showing students how to actually navigate. So this is the interface of ChatGPT. At the bottom is a text box that allows you to type. This is where you'll type your questions or statements. So it's having students start to actually use the system with a very low stakes activity. At this slide, we're teaching the pre-service teachers how to regenerate. So ChatGPT, after a response is given, it can regenerate responses. So here you see an assessment. So students at this point are going to stop and they can't move on to the next module until they are able to develop 3 questions that you will ask ChatGPT. They're going to type those questions in the search box, read ChatGPT's responses, and regenerate the response 1 time. And from there, they'll take those responses and that's what they will turn into the instructor, who's ever running the professional development, so on and so forth. So that is module 1. Again, before they can move on from module 1, they need to have done this task. Now the goal of this, while this module is very simple, the goal is that the user will see that it is easy to use. So at this point, it is supposed to be simple. We want them to see that it's easy to navigate. Now it moves into module 2. Hopefully this module will address that it is useful. So we're going back to that TAM model. So here we're going to have the students or the pre-service teachers actually try to get articles online. I just gave some examples of places where educators can get articles. But it's also showing students that they can also use the ChatGPT as a way to create articles and how to regenerate it. So again, the task here is that they are going to find 3 articles online and keep those. and then um, they are going to later use ChatGPT to create specific articles that are at a specific reading genre, grade level, or lexile. And again, their tasks now, so they should have 3 articles that they found online. Now they should have 3 articles that are at a specific grade level or genre that they found from ChatGPT. And again, before they can move on to the next module, they have to complete this task. Now it's moving on and having the students learn how to summarize with ChatGPT. So the students will take any of the articles, so they should have 6, and they're going to ask ChatGPT to summarize the article. And some parameters that they need to consider is the length of the summary. So for example, you can ask ChatGPT to summarize this article in 3 sentences. So here's a task they need to ask it to summarize for them. And that's what they will actually turn in as a deliverable to move on to the next module. And the last module 3 is also going to talk about questioning. So this is using the QAR approach. So question answer relationship. In this particular module, they're creating right there questions, which means that they're very explicit questions. There are no inferences. There's nothing implicit. So it's all the answers are directly stated within the text. And you can see the QAR information cited there. So here, they're going to create 3 right there questions based on the article, then write the question in ChatGPT search engine and copy and paste the article and press enter, and they'll see its responses and see that it can answer those hypothetically. And so here's some different strategies that they could use in the classroom. And it's trying to get them to actually move into using it. So again, here's just some validity points that would need to be considered. So the real premise of this training module, while it's probably not the best in the world, I do want you to realize that it does take the learner through the TAM model. So it starts off with just, is this easy to use? Module 1. And then in module 2 and module 3, it's getting the learner to see that it is useful. There is a use for this. And module 4 is actually creating that intention to use it and having the user actually create it. So I would recommend anytime that you are trying to integrate technology into a professional development, really look at this TAM model as a guideline and a basis to integrate that into your professional development. And again, I have the slides there for the professional development module that I created. But with that being said, if you're creating your own for your own context, keep the TAM model in the front of your mind as you're developing the modules. We want the users to feel that it's easy to use and that it's useful. Now we're going to completely turn the tables and talk about AI policy. So before we talk about the policy, these are some different ways that a user could use AI in an educational setting. They could use it for research assistance. They could use it for brainstorming and outlining, thesis claim generation, summarization, paraphrasing, grammar and syntax checks, vocabulary enhancement, collaborative writing, feedback and revision, data visualization, multimodal assignments, or accessibility support. Those are just a list of some potential AI applications. So now we're going to talk about the continuum of acceptable AI use. So these are some different ways that a student could use AI in a classroom. And here we're going to talk about the policy that could actually stop students from doing those things or open the door wide open so they could do those things and also just have it create assignments for them. So on this continuum, we have restricting all AI use. So there's no AI being allowed to be used in the classroom, on assessment, all those things. And then on the far other end of the continuum is no restriction of AI use. You can use it however you want as long as you're citing it ethically. Within that, there's restricting the types of AI use, So maybe you're only allowed to use Grammarly. Maybe you're only allowed to use ChatGPT. So the actual program is restricted. And then it moves to restricting the ways that AI is used. So, for example, you can only use it to be a research assistant. That's it. You can't use it past that. So the teacher is actually restricting how they can use it within a classroom. So here's some language for restricting all use of generative AI. This is for an assessment. Again, you can modify it for an assignment, for a syllabi, any of those things. Generative AI tools cannot be used on this assessment task. In this assessment, you must not use generative AI to generate any materials or content in relation to the assessment task. And again, you can change that word assessment for assignment or whatever you're trying to do. And here's restricting the types of AI use. This is some verbiage that you could use. Generative AI tools are restricted for this assessment task. In this assessment, you can use the following generative AI tools only, and then put the names that they're only allowed to use. Any use of generative AI must be appropriately acknowledged. And we'll talk about later in this presentation how to appropriately cite AI. Restricting ways to use AI. So this is the language for restricting ways of using generative AI for assessment. So in this assessment, you can use generative AI in order to blank only, whatever you set the parameters for. Any use of generative AI must be appropriately acknowledged and no restrictions. In this assessment, you can use generative AI intelligence, artificial intelligence to assist you in any way. Any use of generative AI must be appropriately acknowledged. So those are different parameters that we have for different policy statements that you could use. So here are now going to be some specific example AI policies. So this one is for restricting all AI use. So this is something that could literally be copied or pasted into a syllabus statement. Due to the centrality of writing in this course, students may use no AI text generative tools such as ChatGPT, Bing, or Bard, or similar in crafting their assignments for this course. So this is an example of an AI policy that an educator had used that restricted all AI use. Now, this is an example of an AI policy that an educator used that restricted types of AI use. This course, Principles of Graphic Design, invites students to use generative AI in augmentative ways to encourage a healthy curiosity about the tools and their function. Students may use the following generative AI tools for course assessments with proper attribution. So here we have Adobe Firefly, DALL-E 3, and Pixel. And again, this is for restricting the type of AI that you can use. Here's an example of an AI policy verbiage for restricting ways. For the purposes of this course, the use of AI tools such as ChatGPT-4, Bing, Claude, or Bard falls under two categories: text generation tool, prohibited; research, brainstorming, and editorial aid, permitted. So here it's showing you can't use it to generate your papers for you. However, you could use it to help you with research, to help you brainstorm, to help you do editorial aids. And this is the last example policy that I have that has no restrictions on AI use. You can use generative AI models, and it has the list here, as needed for any purpose at no penalty as long as you recognize the model's contribution. Failure to acknowledge the use of AI models will be penalized as plagiarism. So here's an example policy that could be used if you have no restrictions on AI use. Here I have some ideas for citing AI use using APA. So here's an example of an in-text citation. So here you see OpenAI. It has 2023, see Appendix A for the full transcript. So that's where somebody would take the transcript that they got from the Chat GPT, and they would put that in as an appendix in the back of their APA paper. And here on the reference list, you can actually see how they had actually referenced Chat GPT, and it's got the date and everything there. Another tool I wanted to show you is called the Sentiment Syllabus Project. This is not something I created. And this project I really like because it helps you access all these different, so here this is just the principles, 3 principles that apply to AI contributions. Um, so here it just has a lot of AI tools and AI information. It talks about learning objectives, tell me something I don't know. So here it's just a really good project that really talks about how to use AI in our current syllabus world. So that's one tool I wanted to show you. Also, um, here is some syllabi policies for AI generative tools. I like this because every single time I come on here, there are more syllabus statements added. This is not something that was created by me. This was created by Lance Eaton, who graciously is allowing people to share, download, and share this. But here you can see different people's policies that they put. You can see their course and institution and then the specific policy. And this is very helpful just when you're trying to develop your own policies and syllabus statements for your classes. This is very helpful in just kind of getting examples of what other educators and professors are doing to put guidelines on how to use AI in classrooms. And so here you can see there's a whole this has like so many different ones. So that is another tool that I really liked. I also have here some different policy resources that could be used. So different syllabi policies, considerations for using and addressing advanced automated tools in coursework and assignments, how to create your own course policy in AI, and different AI course policy examples. Um, and so those are some different policy resources that I did not create, but that really helped me get my mind around what this would look like in a classroom, in higher ed, in K-12 in general. So I can send this whole presentation to you, give you the information for this and the resources. Please email me at adutcher@sf.edu, and I can send you the information from this presentation. I hope that you enjoyed this presentation, and I really hope that one of your key takeaways is that the TAM model and the AI policy continuum, even though in this presentation we're about AI, in the future when new technology innovations come about, they can really be used for any technology innovation. Thank you so much. And again, please email me at adutcher@sf.edu.